Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I just want to talk about. Gosh, this is going to be a freaking amazing video game generation. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Um, I'm excited for both PlayStation and Xbox this generation. I've been thinking, I've been thinking about this. The last couple of days. I was playing some Horizon Forbidden West today on the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, just kind of looking around and looking at things. And I'm telling you that, my gosh, like PlayStation, I really do believe once they transition their studios over to a PlayStation 5 engine that's built from the ground up for the PlayStation 5, I really think this PlayStation 5 is really going to do some amazing things this generation. I was just strolling around, in Horizon Forbidden West, just kind of looking at things, and like really taking an honest look at things that normally wouldn't that normally I'd been like, oh gosh, I found, I mean, there's a setting on my TV that I stumbled across today. Normally it's grayed out on everything when I try to go into it to switch it around for games. But today, this particular menu was working. It's like a judder reduction menu, and I set it to about half, and I was playing, Horizon Forbidden West on the resolution mode at 30 frames a second. I mean, don't get me wrong. This judder reduction thing is not perfect by any means. It definitely like adds a blur to some of the things. Like with Aloy, I'll have the video playing, but I have this like little horns little thing on her, and when you pan the camera, it kind of like makes it blur out and stuff. But it also fixes the judder. It does. The 100% fixes the 30 FPS judder that I was experiencing. Um, and that's just something, like that's just something. I did say, that I was going to start trying to figure out these things. So this generation by far is probably going to be the most complicated generation when it comes to figuring out your screen as well as your console settings in getting them to work in unison to deliver a better experience. All of these new technologies, us console gamers, we've never had to face this before. We've never had to face this before. And as far as I can tell, the first true solid settings that we were getting, was like VRR support on Xbox One S. So had we been able to use that and had people talked about it more, maybe our understanding and maybe our maybe we would be a little bit more adapted to what's going on. So my TV is the Vizio H1 OLED, 55 inch. It's a solid TV, Lots of stuff in there. I know a lot of people swear up and down about the LG C1 and the CX and all of that stuff, and I don't dispute that the LG is probably a much better bang for your buck in terms of having everything working out of the gate. With the Vizio, I have had to wait for features to come. I'm still waiting on better VRR support now for the PlayStation 5, as well as being able to use Dolby Vision at 120 frames. So those are two things that I'm still waiting for. But as I go through these settings and I play around with things, and I look at some of the functionality and stuff that is already currently in my Vizio TV, being able to find that judder reduction, that's definitely amazing. Now, if it works for every game, that'll be great. That will make my experience better, because I sat there for a good 30 minutes today just playing around with Horizon Forbidden West. I was just sitting there playing around with it and having some fun with that experience today, and just running around looking at things. And I'm telling you, like, in certain spots in that game, it is literally breathtaking. literally breathtaking. Some spots, not too much, doesn't really matter. It just looks, run of the mill, pretty average. But there are places in that game and certain times of, day and night cycle that really make that game look beautiful. And so let me get back to my point about next gen features actually being utilized in both of these consoles. Man, I think Sony's going to blow our socks off when it comes to movie games. Like, I think they're going to blow our socks off. And to tell you the truth, man, I'm perfectly content in my gaming life to experience those games on my PlayStation 5. Wow, Microsoft completely fills a whole nother category of immersion for me, in terms of being able to use next gen features on games I love. That is awesome. That is awesome. And I wish for the sake of everybody who is only going to buy and use a PlayStation 5 this generation, I hope Sony gets the message, man, and I hope they bring you these features that I have on Xbox that does enhance and make my experience better. It does. I mean, and I look back at games that I love to play, and I am so grateful. I'm literally grateful that my experience on the Xbox wasn't ruined with frame tearing, wasn't ruined with having to play them at 30 frames a second, wasn't ruined or unstable frame rates. I'm grateful that I was able to have a VRR capable display so that when I played those games, it was great. I'm grateful that I get to play Elden Ring and it feels smooth and it feels great and it looks beautiful. I'm grateful for those experiences when it comes to my Xbox Series X. And I wouldn't change that for the world. Now, I'm not saying that the PlayStation 5 versions of these games is 100% terrible. I'm just saying that it feels better to play them on my Xbox because of those technologies. Like, PlayStation 5 version of Elden Ring before the VRR came out, it didn't feel that stable. It didn't feel that great to play. Like, it would feel good sometimes, but then it just wouldn't feel great other times. And with the Xbox, I never had to experience that. I never had to experience that unless I was capturing. And here's the thing. The PlayStation 5 version of Elden Ring has always felt more unstable to me in my actual playtime than the PlayStation 5. Like, it's always felt more stable. Like, it felt stable. When I would play them both without VRR support, the Xbox version, in my opinion, always felt more stable. Now, I'm sure there's places where it can drop lower than what the PlayStation 5 was dropping, but it never felt like that to me. Like, it never felt like that to me. And I bought it day one, and I started playing it day one, and I still play it now. So I don't understand... I don't understand, how people can be just that close-minded to actually listen, to us newer YouTubers, man. Like, I'm not here I didn't create this channel to become an Xbox fanboy. I didn't create this channel to just be like, oh yeah, Microsoft is great all the time and always down talk the PlayStation 5. Like, I literally had a PlayStation 5 and Series X before I started this channel. Like, I didn't go out and buy a PlayStation 5 and I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'm just going to start a YouTube channel to start bashing PlayStation 5. No. I played those things for a few months and I just developed this, like, man, the Xbox is just a much better console this generation. Like, it just feels better. Like, it looks better to my eye. And I mean, like, I would play games like MotoGP 2020 or 2021, and I would just notice, like, right out of the gate, I'm like, wow, man, the color palette on the Xbox looks better than the one on the PlayStation 5. It just looks better. It looks better. It looks more vibrant. It looks funner to play. It's like, and that's like the subtle differences. Like, when I'm playing on the Xbox, like, it feels more natural when I'm playing on the PlayStation 5. And I mean, let's face it, it's taken PlayStation you know, up to this point, to put in basic features that were already available on Xbox day one, like VRR support and being able to expand your memory from day one on Xbox. Just things like that. Like, I am not trying to make people feel on this channel that the PlayStation 5 is not worthy of your money, because it is. Like, they both are. These consoles are literally the most powerful consoles we've ever seen to date. Had those pro consoles not come out, I'm pretty sure they would have tried to pawn us off with some stuff like an Xbox Series S. You know what I mean? Like, they'd have been like, "Oh yeah, man, this is more than double the power of that." They definitely would have both tried to give us 4 teraflop consoles and then run 1080p on them. Just it had those refreshes not come out last generation, I don't think either one of them would have came to the plate with this much power in both of these consoles. Because these consoles, whether the PC guys like it or not, these do hold up pretty nicely to what you can do on a PC. Like, they do. They're holding up pretty nicely and delivering a pretty solid experience. I mean, a game like Hitman 3, like, I'm getting 4K 60 on my Xbox Series X, and it looks good. Like, the visuals are nice, they're sharp, they're clean. It looks good. It looks good. And it looks good on the PlayStation 5 as well. And I mean, you got them coming out with a 3090 card, a 3090, flipping on the ray tracing and getting 30 frames a second at 4K. 30 frames a second at 4K. I mean, if my Xbox gets even the low setting of ray tracing on that game at 30 frames a second and still maintains like 4K, like, okay, I'd be kind of happy with that. I mean, you're showing us the top of the line that you can get right now. Well, almost the top of the line, like pretty close to the top of the line. I mean, the 3090 Ti is probably the top of the line right now, but you're showing us a top of the line PC graphics card that costs 3 PlayStation 5s and 3 Xbox Series X's, running a game at 4K with ray tracing at 30 frames a second. At 30 frames a second. And you're trying to tell me that my Xbox and my PlayStation are not worth the money, or that PC's better? I mean, like, I do. Yes, PC is better. Like, there's no question about that. There's no question about that at all. Like, I've seen this with my own eyes. I have a PC now. I've played games. I've seen what they can do, and I've seen the results that they can produce, and that is pretty great. That is pretty great. But what I'm saying is, like, when you're looking at graphics on these games, like, they really do look like they're the exact same game. Like, they do. They look like the exact same game. Flipping on, like, ray tracing or something does definitely change that, alter that a lot, to a point to where it's like, oh my gosh, man, this is what real ray tracing looks like. And if you can manage to get a playable frame rate at least 60 or above with full ray tracing and everything else at maximum and everything, heck yeah, you're gonna really enjoy that experience. But it's gonna be I mean, depending on what you have to power your PC, you're gonna understand that, like, man, the gains that you get on PC games literally come down mostly to frame rate. Like, your frame rate is much better. And I understand now why my PC gamers are like, oh yeah, frame rate, because I love racing games, so I play a lot of racing games. And those racing games, they 100% at over 100 frames a second feel amazing. They feel incredible. They feel so good that it completely makes anything you've ever played on a console just like, wow. Like, when you download a Need for Speed game and you play that thing at over 60 frames a second, and you're looking at, like, your old consoles and you're like, gosh dang, man, we were stuck at 30 frames a second on these. It just, the way it enhances and changes the experience is unlike anything you've felt before. So that is, like, the biggest gain that you're going to get with PC is frame rate right out the gate. The next big thing you're going to get is, like, the full feature set of ray tracing and DLSS and AI upscaling, from NVIDIA as it sits right now. Like, this FSR 2.0, I haven't. I do have the ability to check that out because I do have Deathloop on the PC. So I'm thinking about checking that out. Maybe make a video about it or something. But as it sits right now, DLSS is the undisputed champion. Like it is. It's freaking amazing, and I'm hoping that when we see DirectML on Microsoft's side, that if it can be 75% as good as what DLSS is right now. I mean, I do. I have a lot of high hopes for Microsoft being able to bring this technology. And I mean, if the PlayStation 5 is capable of it, like I don't see any problem with them licensing that tech like they would do with like Unreal Engine or anything like that. Like I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like I want people to be able to enjoy their games, and I want people to be able to save the money and be able to get an experience that's going to be good for everybody. Like everybody's always talking about the exclusives, man, and I get that. Like I get that. Microsoft does need to bump up the exclusives. They do. They need to bring more games. They need to bring some new IP. But that's the thing, man. Like Sony's got plenty of IP. Xbox has got plenty of IP. They can bring some of that stuff back. They can start making more exclusives. There's just so much potential this generation with the sheer power that both companies come to the plate with. Like 100%. Like if you're playing, if PlayStation 5 was to add 1440p support and go for their high visuals and higher frame rate and everything, like the PlayStation 5 would be an amazing console. Like literally freaking amazing console. Like no, I mean like 1440p is literally the sweet spot for frame rate as well as like high quality visuals. And I do believe that PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X should 100% embrace that and make a dedicated, literally dedicated 1440p native resolution with max graphic settings at over 60 frames a second. I really think they should shoot for that and make a dedicated version for that, so like when you're playing on a monitor, like you get the best quality game that you can possibly get. And then, do like their little upscaling technology from there to put it on 4K or whatever. Like that, I think that would still be pretty great. But I think both of them should really just shoot for that 1440p container, and like a locked 60 frames a second. For more, if they can go higher than 60 frames a second, whatever, go ahead and go higher. Flip on VRR. But right now, that container is freaking perfect for these consoles, like literally perfect. And if you have a native 1440p screen, like you would understand exactly what I'm saying, and you'd be like, wow, dude, this is incredible. That's the thing. Like, do I think that these consoles, I mean, both of these consoles should be pretty good with high fidelity. Like when you look at a game like Horizon Forbidden West, like this is the best looking game on the PlayStation 5, hands down. If you want to really see a really pretty game on your PlayStation 5 most of the time, Horizon Forbidden West is by far the best looking game I've played on my PlayStation 5. I'm not saying that, out of the games I've bought. So, but if you want to be able to see this thing and really understand what I'm talking about, like look at that game, play it in the resolution mode, you get the 4K at 30 frames a second, and everything just looks a lot sharper, a lot crisper. There's more higher textures and stuff like that. Now, if you look at that and you're like, whoa, man, this can do this at 4K at 30 frames a second, like at a locked 30 frames a second. Now imagine that coming down to 1440p on a native 1440p screen, so you would still look like for like as sharp, but they would be able to do a lot more, like add ray tracing in at 1440p and still possibly get you 60 frames a second on that game, because it's not wasting all that extra GPU on all those extra pixels, because that's like double more the pixels that they don't have to represent. So you can get more on a 1440p monitor, which is great. And for the most part with Xbox, how it super samples down. So if you put it on a 1440p monitor, it super samples down, so it intensifies the look of the game so much it's not even funny. I love playing my Series X on my 1440p monitor. When I'm playing like a big open world game, like say Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something, just something else, like it looks incredible on my 1440p monitor running it from the Series X. Like it literally looks so good, it's not even funny. And I really, that's kind of where I'm at, man. With that, this generation has the potential with new. This is where I kind of see things going with PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation is going to go for the games as a service. They're gonna do the VR too, the PlayStation VR 2. Now I hooked my PlayStation VR back up. I got a new camera. Everything's working great. Everything works fine with the PlayStation 5, except for now I need a PlayStation 4 controller apparently, and some more Move controllers for that to even function because it doesn't work. It's not working with my PlayStation 5 controller like it used to. So I got to go get a PS4 controller for it. But here's the thing. Being able to just put on my headset and like play any of my games on like an 85-inch screen is pretty cool, man. Like it's pretty cool, and I do like that. That's how it started with the whole Horizon Forbidden West thing today, as I was playing around with the PlayStation 4 version on the VR, and I was like, wow, this doesn't actually look that bad on this 85-inch screen, and I was kind of getting into it. I was playing it and I was having some fun with that. That was pretty cool. Like I really appreciated the being able to do that, and the PlayStation VR headset is just so comfortable on your head. It just fits good. It feels fine. And I mean, it's really nice. So I have decided I am going to pick up PlayStation VR 2 right when it comes out. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. And if anybody, and I've said this before on this channel, if anybody can push VR, it's going to be PlayStation. PlayStation has the ability and I worry about it stretching them so thin though, but if anybody can push VR as a mainstream platform, it's PlayStation. It is 100% PlayStation. If anybody can do it, it is going to be them. And I am definitely looking forward to seeing what they put out. And I'm going to be right here, bringing you that content as well. Because, I don't want to see PlayStation fail. The only reason I bring up a lot of the stuff that I nitpick about the PlayStation in the first place is because of the fanboys. They come out with their little snide remarks, and it's like come on, guys. Like I've been a PlayStation fan for a long time, but I love what Xbox is doing. I love where Xbox is taking gaming. I love what PlayStation is doing. Maybe not so much what PlayStation is doing with the whole anti-consumer, charging you extra money, doing this, that, and that. If it catches on for PlayStation and they pull it off and it becomes a new norm, whatever, my hat's off to PlayStation for being able to make that happen. It really does suck because I know a lot of gamers out there that just cannot afford to enjoy a PlayStation 5 the way they would want to enjoy a PlayStation 5. Hopefully PlayStation Plus Premium does make a difference and be able to give gamers more choice, more selection, more value on their PlayStation 5 platform. I will sign up for it and I will check that out. I want people to be able to enjoy the console that they want to play. As for Xbox, with the AI technology, Flight Simulator made me a believer. 100%. I am a believer. I love what Flight Simulator was able to do with the technology in my Xbox Series X. That's freaking insanely cool. To fly across the whole planet, that right there alone is worth that's a pretty solid tech demo, flight or simulator, whatever you want to call it. Getting in a fighter plane, flying around a game. You can look at this however you want to. For me, the technology is extremely impressive and I really appreciate that, and I'm hoping and I'm looking forward to seeing what Microsoft does with that, what they bring to the table. And I think more people, if they just were looking at that from the way I'm looking at it, I mean, yeah, for me, getting in Flight Simulator and flying a plane across the world is pretty cool. I do like that. It is pretty cool. Do I do it every single day? No. Do I do it for 15 hours at a time? No. Can I sit there and play it like I would play a story-driven game or anything? Probably not. Probably not. But I can generally sit down and play it, for an hour, a couple hours at a time, and that's fine for me. I'm getting my money's worth out of that game because I'll have it forever and I'll keep playing it forever. So that's it. That's a game that's in my head, it's a long-term game. When I feel like jumping on a Flight Simulator, I jump on a Flight Simulator and I play it. Same with my racing games. Same with my racing sims. When I feel like jumping on there and racing, I jump on there and race. Like I don't have to sit there every day, all day, and just do that. I can switch and move around to different experiences when I want to. Um, and so that's where I'm looking at. What I'm looking at with this console generation. I feel that Sony is definitely going to blow our socks off with movie games and PlayStation VR 2, and I think Xbox is going to create some of the biggest open world AI enhanced type games that are really going to give us something we've never seen before. I think both of these companies are going to do that, and I'm rooting for both of them. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.